Welcome back to part 4 of this video demonstration with a garden theme. So we've got the painting to basically a grayscale with some warm lights, and we're going to start putting some color on. I want to show you how to do some glazing. So what I did was I did a test with some of the colors that we have on our palette, and I want to show you this. The colors that show up on the black basically are not good to glaze with. You see how yellow ochre is very solid? That's not going to be a good glazing color, neither is cadmium red. All the rest are pretty good. The only one I would not use probably is phthalo blue because it's such a strong color. But I'm looking at both yellows, cadmium yellow and lemon yellow, and alizarin crimson and burnt sienna, also a really lovely neutral color, ultramarine, and then believe it or not, bone black will be a nice neutral color if I want to tone some things down and add a neutral blue. So this, basically, I've set my palette up with these colors, and I've actually mixed it with a little bit of glazing medium right here. Satin glazing medium. It'll also help retard the drying a little bit. Now your painting has to be dry before you put this on. If you're an oil painter, it's especially important, and you use a different glazing medium. Obviously, you want to use an oil-based one. This is really only good for acrylic painters, but if you're painting in oil, you can do the same technique, only with different materials. So I've gone ahead and mixed some of that satin glazing liquid into each of these colors, which will make them more transparent and also dry a little bit more slowly. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is let's try a little bit of a yellow color on that fish. It gets a little bit, or even a more neutral color, trying to just tone this, knock it more into the realm of the color that you're seeing. So the yellow is not really, it's not really changing the value, it's not making it any lighter, but you see it's kind of taking on the color that we're seeing there and keeping with the values that are there. It's just an easy way to kind of tip it the direction you want that color to go. I'm going to make a cooler glaze for right in here. Now I'll probably hit that with some lighter lights, but for now I think I'm going to leave that, and then I'll take a look at this swan. And the swan's kind of a much warmer color. It's a taupe kind of, so burnt sienna is a really good choice for that. I'm going to take some burnt sienna and let's just see how that warms it up. Now it might seem a little too orange, kind of limited with glazes, you know, there's only so much you can do, but it definitely helps it take on that tan cast to it. I'm going to try a little bit of black with it too, just so it's not quite so orange. Cool it off a bit, neutralize it a bit, and let's see what this does. It's really going to slow the drying down, so I can wipe this off too if I wanted to, if I don't like what I'm getting. But the point is to be able to see the colors underneath in addition to what you're putting on top. You know, you don't want to lose any of your details. So it's, like I said, just a transparent color, a lot like you might see a watercolor. Watercolor is transparent. This is very much the same thing, only I'm going over gray. So it's the gray that I'm tinting. Even this dark right here. See what happens if I go over that. I warm it up and it becomes less gray and more brown. And then the box below it is even more brown. So I'm going to try a little bit more of a, so I have this color, much browner color under there. And there's a tulip. And here's going to be, actually see a little bit of that darker edge. See if I can get this to work. And then a lighter edge. And where I made this lighter to darker, I should still see that. The only difference is I just put in this, this other color. There's also some shadow that kind of shifts through coming from the light. I'll see if, it might be too much to do right now, but we'll try it in this step. And looking at this box, it's very close to what I would want, but this color is a little bit too cool. But I don't want it to be as, I want it to be different than this. So I do want to warm that up a bit. So I'm going to try, and then on the top with this, let's try lighten that up a little bit so we don't have quite as much. So a lot of the same color, just pushing it one way or another. And then the shadow is very blue, but wants to go the direction of our brown. You know, it wants to be part of this, if we can tie that in together. So I'm going to affect this a little bit and wipe some of this off just to bring some of that gray back. And this is just a wet cloth, like a t-shirt rag. All right, it's just wet with water. Let's see. I could do a little bit on this urn. to definitely try to unify some of this a bit more. This is the line there. I might not want that to show, so I can go back through with this. And you see, it's just a neutral. I mean, it's just a wash. It's just thin, but it is depending on how much I leave there. It could be dark or it could be kind of light. And then here, maybe I want that a little bit darker at the top. Put shadows on the other side of these. Can't do too much else. Once you put it down, it's just sort of, it's what it's going to be. So I could play around a little bit if I wanted to. Tone some of this, maybe not have it be so white. I could wipe a little off. I can also hit it with some opaque color later too if I wanted to. That just gives me a little bit more to work with. I can darken this up here. So darkening this, I'm going to look at the flowers, because that's where we really get some nice effects. This is a technique that people used in the Renaissance, or even before that, you know, when they didn't have as many colors to work with. So by layering colors, you can get more out of it. Alizarin crimson is a nice intense red, whereas cadmium red is not transparent. So I could take this over the light area and over the dark, and you see the difference, right? You can tell where it goes into shadow. You wouldn't see where it went into shadow with cadmium. Cadmium would just cover it up. So that's why this is good for glazing, for that reason. So I get some nice intense colors, and you kind of get that sense of that pink because it's transparent. I'm going to add colors over that as well, but that's going to be good for now. I can't really get the color that we see there unless I actually use magenta. And since you don't have that on your palette, not really fair for me to use it. So you want to get as close as you can. Just make it a pretty flower color. And some things you can see, like for instance, you see how there's kind of a red glow on this from the flowers. So I can suggest that. And then it's not too hard to take another brush, a clean brush, and integrate it into that. So the glaze colors work really well for creating the tones on this urn. And also for some of the dark part of the parts of the flowers, I'm going to need to darken these flowers. And then with some opaque colors, I'll need to lighten it up a little bit so they really stand out against the background there. The colors work really well also to get some tone on this metal can. Oh, and one other thing. So since I got the blue and the yellow, I can do a green glaze. Doesn't mean I'll probably end up painting over a lot of this, but I can at least suggest some of these, the green of these leaves and the green of some of these flowers. Most of these they're a little dark. They're going to be hard to make them with glazes. So I think I'm going to stop there. I'll start working with opaque colors now. But I've kind of started to nudge the colors in the right direction. That's about as much as I can do with this.